Good day, everyone. Today we're going to tackle about the SDG 11, which is the Sustainable Cities and Communities. So the report highlights the introduction, COVID response, facts and figures, SDG 11 targets, and our answer for the exit ticket report of SDG 11. So for the introduction, the world is becoming increasingly urbanized. Since 2007, more than half of the world's population has been living in cities, and that share is projected to rise to 60% by 2030. Cities and metropolitan areas are powerhouses of economic growth, contributing about 60% of global GDP or the gross domestic product. However, they also account for about 70% of global carbon emissions and over 60% of resource use. Rapid urbanization is resulting in a growing number of slum dwellers, inadequate and overburdened infrastructure and services, such as waste collection and water and sanitation systems, and roads and transportation. And lastly, the worsening air pollution and unplanned urban sprawl. The impact of COVID-19 will be most devastating in poor and densely populated urban areas, especially for the 1 billion people living in informal settlements and slums worldwide, where overcrowding also makes it difficult to follow recommended measures such as social distancing and self-isolation. The UN Food Agency FAO, which means Food and Agriculture Organization, warned that hunger and fatalities could rise significantly in urban areas without measures to ensure that poor and vulnerable residents have access to food.
Good day, I'm Lance Barloco Bargamento, a member of Team COM, and this is COVID-19 response for SDG 10. COVID-19 is not just a health crisis, it is a test of our common humanity. The pandemic has worsened existing inequalities, hitting the poorest and most vulnerable the hardest. UN's global response are urgent funding through the UN COVID-19 response and recovery fund. Number 2 is strengthen social protection system. And last, international cooperation to address socio-economic impacts. The UN has called for increased international support and funding. The UN COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund aims to help low and middle income countries as well as vulnerable groups facing socio-economic impacts. UN call for solidarity. The UN Secretary General has urged to the global community to support those most affected. He emphasized the need to stand by our commitment to leave no one behind in this crisis. Addressing inequality. This crisis presents a chance to reshape policies and institutions to fight inequality. Decisive actions now can set the world back on track towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Strengthening healthcare system for all, investing in exclusive policies and institutions, and lastly, using this crisis to reshape social and economic norms. Call to action, leave no one behind. Now is the time for bold steps to fight inequality. Join global efforts to build a more just and resilient world. Conclusion is COVID-19 has shown the urgent need for stronger social protection and global cooperation. With bold action and investment, we can build a more just and exclusive world. That's all. Thank you.
So now let's proceed to the facts and figures of Sustainable Development Goals, number 11, or SDG 11. So the purpose of facts and figures of SDG 11 is to provide data-driven insights that highlight the challenges, trends, and urgency of achieving sustainable urban development. So we have a total of eight facts and figures, and I will be discussing the first four. So the first fact and figure is the urbanization and population growth. So currently, half of the world's population, approximately 3.5 billion people, lives in cities. This number is expected to rise to 5 billion by 2030, reflecting a rapid shift from rural to urban living. Urbanization is driven by factors such as economic opportunities, better access to services, and improved infrastructure, attracting people from rural areas to cities. This unprecedented urban expansion presents both opportunities and challenges. On one hand, cities act as engines of economic growth, innovation, and job creation. On the other, they also face issues like housing shortages, traffic congestions, and environmental degradation. By 2050, nearly 70% of the world's population is expected to reside in urban areas, making sustainable urban development an urgent priority. The next is urban expansion in developing regions. 95% of urban expansion in the coming decades will take place in developing countries, particularly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Countries such as India, Nigeria, and China are expected to experience most significant urban population growth, leading to the expansion of existing cities and the emergence of new urban centers. This rapid growth is often unplanned, resulting in issues like inadequate infrastructures, for example, roads, water, supplies and sanitation, overcrowding and congestion, increased demand for energy and housing, greater environmental impact, for example, deforestation and pollution. So many cities in the developing world lack the resources, governance structures, and financial investments necessary to accommodate this growth sustainably, leading to informal settlements and urban property. So the third is the housing and informal settlements. So currently, an estimated 828 million people live in slums, informal, overcrowded settlements that lack access to safe housing, clean water, sanitation, and other essential services. The majority of slum dwellers are found in Eastern and Southeastern Asia, where rapid urbanization has outpaced the ability of governments to provide adequate housing. By 2030, this number could surpass 1 billion, making slum upgrading and affordable housing critical urban challenges. Slums are often characterized by poor housing conditions, such as unsafe structures, lack of durable materials. Also, limited access to basic services, such as healthcare, education, and electricity. And lastly, high exposure to environmental hazards, such as flooding, landslides, and pollution. So without intervention, slum population will continue to grow, exacerbating social inequalities, health risk, and economic disparities. So fourth is the energy consumption and the environmental impact. The world's cities occupy just 3% of the Earth's land, yet they are responsible for 60 to 80% of global energy consumption and 75% of carbon emissions. Urban areas have disproportionately large environmental footprint due to high energy demand for buildings, industries, and transportation, fossil fuel dependency for electricity and mobility, and waste generation and poor waste management systems. The urban heat island effect causes cities to be 1 to 3% degrees Celsius warmer than surrounding rural areas, increasing energy use for cooling and exacerbating climate change effects. Sustainable urban planning and policies can help mitigate these issues through first, energy efficient buildings and renewable energy adoption. Second, improve public transportation and non motorized transport, including cycling and walking. And third is green infrastructure, such as parks, urban areas to absorb carbon dioxide. Cities must lead the way in climate action, as well as their policies and innovation will determine whether global carbon reduction targets are met.
Facts and figures regarding SDG 11. Rapid urbanization is exerting pressure on fresh water supplies, sewage, the living environment, and public health. As cities grow, more people need access to clean water, but the available supply may not be enough to meet the rising demand. At the same time, sewage and waste disposal systems struggle to keep up, leading to pollution and unsanitary conditions. Overcrowding in urban areas can cause poor housing conditions, increasing the risk of diseases and lowering the overall quality of life. Public health also faces challenges due to increased air pollution, limited healthcare facilities, and the spread of illnesses in densely populated areas. Without proper planning, rapid urbanization can make cities difficult places to live in, especially for low income communities. Cities account for between 60 and 80% of energy consumption and generate as much as 70% of human induced greenhouse gas emissions. Urban areas require a large amount of energy to support industries, transportation, businesses, and homes. Most of this energy comes from burning fossil fuels, which releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change. These emissions lead to rising global temperatures, extreme weather conditions, and environmental degradation. Since cities produce the majority of the world's carbon emissions, adopting cleaner energy sources like solar, wind, and efficient public transportation can significantly reduce their environmental impact. Sustainable urban planning, including energy efficient buildings and green spaces, can also help lower emissions and improve air quality. 90% of urban growth is forecasted to happen in Asia and Africa in the next 30 years. In the coming decades, most of the world's urban expansion will take place in Asia and Africa, where populations are growing rapidly. This means millions of new homes, roads, and services will be needed to support the increasing number of city dwellers. Without proper planning, this growth could lead to overcrowding, the spread of informal settlements, and a lack of essential services like clean water, sanitation, and education. However, if governments and urban planners invest in sustainable infrastructure, affordable housing, and efficient public transportation, cities in these regions can grow in a way that benefits everyone while reducing environmental harm. By 2050, 70% of the world's population is predicted to live in urban settlements. More people are choosing to live in cities rather than rural areas, seeking better job opportunities, healthcare, and education. As a result, urban areas will continue to expand, increasing the need for housing, public transportation, and social services. If this growth is not managed well, cities could become overcrowded with traffic congestion, pollution, and inadequate infrastructure. However, with smart planning, sustainable development, and investment in renewable energy and green spaces, cities can become more livable, offering a high quality of life while minimizing negative impacts on the environment.
Here are the goal targets for SDG 11. First, by 2030, ensure access for all to adequate, safe, and affordable housing and basic services and upgrade slums. Second one was by 2030, provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all. improving road safety, notably by expanding public transport, with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations: women, children, persons with disabilities, and older persons. Third, by 2030, enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacity for participatory, integrated, and sustainable human settlement, planning, and management in all countries. Fourth, strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage.
Target 11.5. By 2030, significantly reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected, and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters, with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations. Target 11.6. By 2030, reduce the adverse per capita environment impact of cities, including by paying special attention to air quality and municipal and other waste management. Target 11.7. By 2030, provide universal access to safe, inclusive, and accessible green and public spaces, in particular for women and children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. Target 11.7A. Support positive economic, social, and environmental links between urban, peri-urban, and rural areas by strengthening national and regional development planning. Target 11.7B. By 2020, substantially increase the number of cities and human settlements adopting and implementing integrated policies and plans towards inclusion, resource efficiency, mitigation, and adaptation to climate change, resilience to disasters, and develop and implement in line with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030, holistic disaster risk management at all levels. Target 11.7C. Support least developed countries, including through financial and technical assistance in building sustainable and resilient buildings utilizing local products.
Good day, everyone. We are here to discuss the SDG 11 Sustainable Cities and Communities Exit Ticket Report Team CAM. To start, here is the list of contents: the introduction, with what is a sustainable city, tutorial on making a hydroponic system at home, training plan for street vendors, and will your training plan help create a sustainable city? First, let us discuss what is sustainability. Sustainability is about meeting our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Let's explore the main aspects of sustainability and find out how can we work together to create a more sustainable world. What is a sustainable city? A sustainable city is one that is planned to satisfy the demands of its present citizens while guaranteeing that those of future generations can be satisfied as well, utilizing green infrastructure, renewable energy, waste management, efficient resource use, and fair access to basic amenities like housing, transportation, healthcare, and education. It places a high priority on social well-being, economic growth, and environmental preservation. Tutorial on how to make a hydroponic system at home. Materials needed: 4 pieces 4-inch PVC pipe, each 3 feet, 19 feet 32mm PVC pipe, 8 pieces 4-inch end cap, 8 pieces 4-inch pipe clip, 8 pieces 32 PVC T, 4 pieces 32mm PVC elbow, 4 pieces 32mm socket, PVC glue, net pots, growing medium, submersible pump, nutrient solution, pH testing kit, and timer. Process on how to make hydroponic system at home. Design the structure. Cut the 4-inch PVC type pipes to the desired lengths for the planting channels. Drill holes on the top side of these pipes to accommodate the net pots. Assemble the pipes using PVC elbows and tees to create the desired layout. Construct the stand. Use the 2-inch PVC pipes to build a sturdy stand that will hold the planting channels at an appropriate height and angle to ensure proper nutrient flow. Install the pump system. Place the submersible pump in a reservoir filled with the nutrient solution. Connect the pump to the planting channel to allow the nutrient solution to flow through the system and return to the reservoir. Set up the timer. Configure the timer to control the pump's operation, ensuring that the plants receive nutrients at regular intervals. Planting. Place seedlings into the net pots filled with the growing medium. Insert the net pots into the hole drilled in the planting channels. Maintenance. Regularly check the nutrient solution's pH and adjust as necessary. Ensures the reservoir is adequately filled and monitor plant health. Here is the training plan for street vendors affected by COVID-19. Session 1 composed of the introduction to hydroponics, activity overview of sustainable farming, materials needed for presentation, video, projector, and laptop. The duration is 1.5 hours, followed by the session 2, 3, and 4 with their respective topics, activities, materials needed for the session and their durations. The estimated training costs are materials which cost 5,000, venue and equipment for 2,000, and facilitator fee for 3,000, with the total cost of 10,000. Will your training plan help create a sustainable city? Why or why not? Yes, there are several ways in which this training will support a sustainable city, because urban hydroponics lessen reliance on imported products by enabling people to grow food in constrained settings. Hydroponic produce can be sold by affected vendors to generate cash. Compared to conventional farming, hydroponics utilizes less water, which minimizes waste and encourages environmentally friendly methods. That concludes our exit ticket report. Let's commit to building a sustainable future now. Thank you.